going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is your boy Jay Lay, bringing you guys another Round 1 2023 NFL mock draft. And guys, this is a really weird NFL mock draft that I made. It has a lot of trades. It's a very exciting one. A lot of trades, a lot of weird trades, not a lot of people have mocked before. It's pretty different than most mock drafts just because some of the trades are pretty different and not your typical trades. It's a pretty crazy one. I hope you guys do enjoy. Without further ado, let's just get to the video. At pick number 1, we have the Carolina Panthers, and I have them going CJ Stroud. And just a heads up, in almost every mock draft, I have the Panthers taking CJ Stroud. I'm very high on him going to the Panthers, and that's not me saying I think he's better than Bryce Young. I just think he fits what Frank Reich looks for in a quarterback much more. Frank Reich has never coached a quarterback under 6'2". CJ Stroud is 6'3". Bryce Young is 5'11". CJ Stroud is great in the pocket and has high upside outside of the pocket. So, I mean, it comes down to who you think would fit better with Frank Reich, and if you're looking at just that, it's CJ Stroud all day. I'm very high on it. Texans at number 2. I don't think they complain. They take Bryce Young. They're taking whoever falls, whether it's Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. And, you know, none of the other issues like the size, it doesn't matter. They're taking whoever falls to them at pick number 2. At pick number 3, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I would not be surprised if they went Jalen Carter here. I haven't seen a lot of people mock it to them, but I wouldn't be very surprised if they went Jalen Carter. They need help on the interior. J.J. Watt just retired, and I think Jalen Carter would be an instant impact replacement for J.J. Watt. Now, do they go Jalen Carter? Not in this mock draft. I might have them go Jalen Carter in a future one. I think Will Anderson, though, they need help on the edge as well. He's explosive, and he's kind of the perfect guy you want to rebuild your defense around with Jonathan Gannon there. And like I said, I could see them going Jalen Carter. In future mock drafts, I probably will have them going Jalen Carter. But for this one, we're going to keep it nice and simple and go Will Anderson at pick 3 to the Cardinals. At pick 4, this is where we have the very first trade of the draft, the Colts. And yes, they go out and they trade for Lamar Jackson. Now, exactly what they're going to give up for Lamar Jackson, I'm not sure. I saw one person say they could give up their 2024 and 2025 first rounders and keep their 4th overall in this year's draft. I could see that. And someone said they could wait till after the draft to trade for him. Like I said, that is a possibility. For this one, we're going to keep it interesting. They'll go up their 4th, 35th, and we'll say a round 2 next year, maybe pick 106 in this draft. And again, I don't know what they would give up, what type of capital they would give up for Lamar Jackson. It'd have to be a lot, so we'll just keep it interesting and say they do give up their first rounder this year for him. And the Baltimore Ravens now with pick 4 traded away Lamar Jackson, and I think they go Anthony Richardson. I don't think it's too much of a decision there for John Harbaugh. I think Anthony Richardson fits exactly what he is looking for in a quarterback, same play style. And I think Anthony Richardson would fit that scheme very well in Baltimore. And like I said, Anthony Richardson has potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He just needs to get under the right system. And I think Baltimore is the perfect system for him. I also think Shane Steichen wants to make an immediate impact in Indianapolis. And when you're in a division where it's a pretty bad division, the Titans are going to be awful. The Texans are going to be okay. The Jags are going to be good, but they're definitely a competitive team with if you have Lamar Jackson. So I think it's a division where it's definitely winnable if you have the right pieces, and having Lamar Jackson would boost the Colts incredibly. So I think Shane Steichen, he doesn't want to get there and necessarily rebuild. I think he wants to get there and win now and make an immediate impact in Indianapolis. So I think that's part of the reason, because I think if he did want to truly rebuild, I think he would be content just sitting there at 4 and taking Anthony Richardson. But I think he wants to go ahead and be aggressive right away in his first year and try to win that division and make an immediate impact on the Colts. Pick 5, we have the Seahawks, and I think this one's a no-brainer. They go Jalen Carter. They need help on the interior. Their defense was ranked 30th last year, and they need to fix that immediately. I could see them going Tyree Wilson as well, get some pressure on the edge, but when your running game was ranked 30th last year, you need to get help in the middle and stop the run, Jalen Carter. And the Seahawks have been known to take gambles on players with off-the-field issues before. Jalen Carter, I don't think he's an exception. I think they take the gamble on him, and he is an immediate impact for that defensive front. At pick 6, we have the Detroit Lions, and this is an interesting one. I could definitely see them going cornerback here, like Christian Gonzalez or Devin Witherspoon. For this one, though, I have them going Tyree Wilson. They have upgraded that secondary a lot. Now, it's not perfect. They still need a couple more pieces to it in this draft, but I think you're okay to spend your 6th pick on someone else. That defensive front needs a lot of help, and I think you pair Tyree Wilson up with Aiden Hutchinson, and that would be a lethal duo. And like I said, their secondary still needs help, and I know Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon all seem appealing, and I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route at pick 6, but I think pairing Tyree Wilson, who is explosive off the edge and has amazing high ceiling, I think just pairing him up with Aiden Hutchinson would be lethal. I know it helped that defensive front a lot. At pick number 7, we have the Raiders, and Will Levis still on the board. I'm not very high on them taking him. You guys know that. I don't think they look at Will Levis right now. I think they have Jimmy Garoppolo for at least the next couple seasons. They have bigger needs than a developmental quarterback, And at pick 7, they go Christian Gonzalez. He's my cornerback 1 in this class. They need help in the secondary bad. They're in a division with Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Justin Herbert. You need a lockdown secondary, and the Raiders secondary was awful last year. Christian Gonzalez is everything you look for in a cornerback. He's big, he's physical, he's tough, he's smart, plays the ball, and I think he's a major addition to that secondary and an immediate impact. Number 8, we have the Falcons, and this is an interesting one because I have mocked them or tried to mock them to trade down in this one, but because I don't really see a lot of value here at pick 8 for them, especially after upgrading their secondary and with Devin Witherspoon there. I think Devin Witherspoon is definitely appealing there at pick 7. I actually had them mocking down to trade down with the Bucs potentially, but I don't like doing divisional trades. So for this one, the Falcons are going to stay there, and I think they take their favorite player in the draft, Nolan Smith. There were reports they want to bring him in and keep him in Georgia. I think Nolan Smith is a freak. They need help on the edge and on that defensive front. Nolan Smith, an immediate impact, and they have Grady Jarrett on the interior. It'd be nice to get another interior to pair with him, but I think if you can get help on the edge, that would be great. And like I said, I could see them going Devin Witherspoon as well to really lock down that secondary with AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates. But for this one, they go Nolan Smith at pick 8. Pick 9, this is where things start to get interesting. We have the Bears, but I actually have them trading down again. I think they still don't have great draft capital. I mean, they have upgraded that team tremendously. They have upgraded their draft capital a lot, but I think if I'm the Bears, I'm looking to gain even more draft capital, and I'm trying to find a team willing to trade up. And I think that team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they see that Will Levis has slipped out of these teams that could potentially take him, and he's about to fall to a team like the Titans or potentially the Commanders. If I'm the Bucs, I'm looking to trade up and take Will Levis. So we'll give the Bears the 19th, the 50, and we'll say a round for 2024. And again, I don't really know what the trades will actually be like. I'm just kind of making these for fun. As long as, we get the 9th and the first rounders, it doesn't really matter what else. So this is just a hypothetical one. We'll say maybe a 153 this draft as well. And again, like I said, I don't know exactly what the trades will normally be, but all that matters is the Bucs trade up with the Bears to take Will Levis. Bears, if they could manage to trade down again, get insane draft capital, and still get a good tackle at 19, that would be one of the best moves, I think, in a draft history. And the Bucs, to win for them, they take Will Levis, get their developmental quarterback. I would imagine he sits behind Baker Mayfield for a year and then comes into the league and has an immediate impact next season. Next, at pick 10, I would also love for the Eagles to trade down. I think the Eagles trading down with the Bucs would have made a lot of sense too, but I wanted to keep this one interesting and make it unique, so we had the Bears trade down, but I could also see the Eagles being a favorite team to trade up with. And the Eagles on the board at pick 10, I've seen a lot of people mock a lot of different things. I've seen people mock safety, cornerback if Devin Witherspoon is there, Bijan Robinson, Kalijah Kancey. I've seen a ton of different mocks to them, but I'm very high on them taking Brian Branch at 10 if he's still there, which I'm pretty sure he will be. They lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They need to get another safety, and Brian Branch, versatile, nickel safety, he's smart, he's elusive, he's fast. Very, very good safety, the safety 1 in the class, and I think he's exactly what you look for in a safety, especially for a nickel safety. So Eagles go Brian Branch at pick 10. Next, we have the Titans, and I am very high on them taking a tackle. My belief is that if you have a terrible offensive line, nothing else matters. Even if C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young was here at 11, I would not take them because you need to have a good O-line for a quarterback to thrive, for your running game to thrive, for your receiving core to thrive. And the Titans have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So to me, it doesn't matter who's available here at the receivers, at the quarterbacks. If you don't have a good offensive line, it doesn't matter. And there's two main guys I like. I like Peter Skoronski to them, and I like Paris Johnson to them. They have the first shot at a tackle. No tackle has been taken yet since the Bears traded down. And I'm looking at either Peter Skoronski or Paris Johnson, mainly because both of them can play guard and tackle. But I'm taking my tackle 1 in Paris Johnson because he can play primarily tackle. I think he's a very good left tackle, but you can also kick him into guard. Peter Skoronski, who you can kick him into guard as well. He's very versatile. He can probably even play center, but he's just not as good of a tackle. I think Paris Johnson would be an immediate impact on the left tackle to replace Taylor Lewan, but he can also be kicked into guard if you need him to be. So I like Paris Johnson to the Titans. And again, I think it's great that Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnson, all these guys are still there. But to me, it does not matter who is there. You have to focus on that O-line because no offense can thrive. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback, who's your receiving core. If you don't have a good, stable O-line, nothing else is going to fall into place. So Titans take the best tackle on the board, and they go Paris Johnson at pick 11. Now, at pick 12, the Texans, I've mocked them to take a receiver in most draft classes, and I think if they get C.J. Stroud and the Panthers go Bryce Young, I think taking Jackson Smith and Jigba would be a lock to reunite C.J. Stroud with Jackson Smith and Jigba. But for this one, we'll change it up, and I have them going defensive tackle. And you look at their receiving class, this is a very wide receiver, thick receiving class. I'm looking down the line, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, Marvin Mims, a lot of talent, Michael Wilson down the line in the second, third rounds that I can look at. Texans have a very early second round pick. They have a lot of draft capital, so I'm looking at this defensive tackle class, and it is a lot less strong and thick than the receiving class. Kalijah Kinsey, Brian Brzee, Mozzie Smith, but then it really has a deep fall off, and I would much rather take the best defensive tackle available and then get a really solid receiver in the second and third round versus vice versa. And I'm looking at Kalijah Kinsey. He's my defensive tackle too. He's very good. He's almost like a mini Aaron Donald. Not that I'm saying he is going to be the next Aaron Donald, but just he's a big physical powerhouse. And DeMeco Ryans is a defensive-minded head coach, and I think he knows how important it is to have a good defensive front. Kalijah Kinsey, an immediate impact there at the front for the Texans. Pick 13, we have the Jets, and this is an interesting one. For this one, we are going to say they trade for Aaron Rodgers, so we're going to go ahead and do the trade with the Packers, but the Jets are going to keep their 13th overall. I think it's going to be 42nd, 43rd, and maybe like a round 2 next year. I don't think they really want to give up their 13th overall pick, and in this one, they're going to keep it. So they do get Aaron Rodgers, but it comes at the expense of a 2024 second, and then their 2 2023 seconds as well. So they get Aaron Rodgers. Who are they going to go with? I think they go offensive tackle. They need to upgrade that O-line, and I like Peter Skoronski. I know I passed on him at pick 11 with the Titans. He can play guard. The Jets need a lot of help on the interior. He can play left tackle as well and pair him up with Micah Becton at right tackle, but you can also move him into guard if need be because that Jets O-line needs help on the interior. So I think it's great. I think you get Aaron Rodgers the protection he needs with Peter Skoronski. At pick 14, we have the Patriots, and I hate being a Patriots fan during the draft because you never know who they're going to take, and they normally trade back and take a projected third or fourth rounder. That's what they did last year with Cole Strange, who is doing great, but it's not really who you'd like to see them take in the first round, get some first round talent. But I am going to have them trading back here. That's pretty much every Patriots mock draft now, and I'm going to have them trade back with the Cowboys. There has been interest or talks that the Patriots are interested in Bijan Robinson. I think that's all just tactics to get a team to trade up for Bijan Robinson with them. I think it's the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys want to risk the Patriots potentially taking him. A team like the Lions, the Chargers, I don't think the Cowboys want to risk that. I think they trade up with the Patriots. The Patriots love to trade back, so Patriots give up their 14th for the 26th, 58, and we'll say a pick 129. And again, I don't know exactly what capital the Cowboys would give up in these trades. I'm just basically doing it so we can get to the first round. So Patriots force a trade, and at pick 14, the Cowboys go Bijan Robinson. I could also see them going with a tight end at pick 26. I think it would come down. I could see them sitting there and just saying, if Bijan's available, we'll take him, no brainer. But if he's not, we're looking at the tight end since we did lose Dalton Schultz. But in this one, we're going to have them not wanting to miss out on Bijan Robinson. They go up, they trade with the Patriots, and they take Bijan Robinson at pick 14. Here we are at pick 15, and I have another trade. I'm looking at Devin Witherspoon still on the board, and I think the Steelers, they do need another cornerback. I think they see him on the board, and I don't think the Packers would take him, but I think if he falls to 16, I think the Commanders would be a no-brainer. And I think the Steelers are really looking to take Devon Witherspoon. They don't want to risk it, so they trade up with the Packers. They're not going to give up too much because they're only jumping up 2 spots. I think they would give them their 15th and their 80th. That's what I would say. And again, I don't know how they're going to go, but if I'm the Steelers, I'm not looking to give up too much, just maybe an extra pick for the Packers, force the trade, and the Steelers go Devon Witherspoon. He's the second best cornerback in the class, in my opinion, and I don't want to risk the Commanders taking him just to pick ahead of me, so we trade up. It's nice for the Packers as well, because at the Packers, I have them taking Kincaid. I think they're locked in on Dalton Kincaid, but I like it because you can get more draft capital and move back a couple picks, because normally most teams don't like to take a tight end in the early to mid first round. So I think it's nice that they move back, get draft capital, and they can still take Kincaid. So I like it. Next at 16, we have the Commanders. They just lost out on Devin Witherspoon. I don't think there's another cornerback they would be willing to spend their first rounder on. Maybe Joey Porter, maybe Deontay Banks, but I think Devin Witherspoon was really the only other cornerback they were looking at. Now I think they look to their second biggest need in their O-line. Whether it's Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett, they need to start protecting them. Their offensive line was horrible. They finished at 28th ranked last season. They need an instant upgrade, and I like Broderick Jones. He can play left tackle. He can also play right tackle if, wherever they want him to go. Primarily, he's going to play left tackle, though, and hold that spot down, and I like it. You need to protect whoever your quarterback is. I like Broderick Jones a lot. He's a pretty versatile tackle. And again, I'm looking at the cornerback room. They do need help. I wouldn't be surprised if they went with someone like Deonte Banks. He's big, he's physical. Joey Porter also. But I think missing out on Devin Witherspoon, you might as well just go ahead and take a tackle there. There's still a lot of good depth at tackle. So I like Broderick Jones to the Commanders. At pick 17, I have the Packers. They traded down 2 spots. Still get Kincaid. Great deal for them. I love Kincaid. I love Kincaid to the Packers. He's a receiving tight end. The Packers lost a lot of their receiving weapons. They still have Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Now they add a receiving tight end for Jordan Love. They need to get Jordan Love as many weapons as possible. They lost Robert Tonyan in the offseason, so I think it only fits. They get him not only a tight end, but a receiving threat and just another weapon for him to make him feel as comfortable as possible. I'm very high on them taking Kincaid. He has high upside as a blocker as well, so if they can develop him, I think he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the league. Next, at pick 18, we have the Lions. At pick 6, they went Tyree Wilson to focus on that defensive front edge. Now I think they turn to cornerback, and I also could see them going tight end here potentially if Michael Mayer is still on the board. Great blocking tight end, great catching tight end. I could see them going there after they traded away TJ Hawkinson, but in this one, they're going to lock down their cornerbacks, and I have them going Joey Porter. Joey Porter, he's a tall cornerback. He's smart. He's physical. His dad was a cornerback, and I'm very high on him. He's a very just smart and smooth cornerback, and I really like him to the Lions. The Lions have upgraded that secondary a lot this offseason, and I think Joey Porter would be the final piece to solidify it in the secondary. Pick 19, we have the Bears, and they traded down with the Buccaneers. They got some more draft capital, and they still have a couple good O-linemen to choose from. I really like Darnell Wright. I think he's a no-brainer if he's still there. He can play left and right tackle, and when you have an offensive line that needs a lot of help, having a tackle that you can put in right tackle or left tackle is great. He primarily played right tackle in college. I believe he might have played left tackle in the first year. I know he played left tackle in high school for sure. I believe he might have even played left tackle in his first year of college. Either way, though, he can play both left and or right tackle, so I think he's great to have a versatile lineman on your front. Pick 20, I already mocked it on accident, but I have the Seahawks taking Lucas Van Ness, and I'm looking at this receiving core. I'm looking at Quentin Johnson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. They're both still on the board, and I would not be surprised at all if they went with a receiver there at pick 20 to get a receiver 3, but I'm just looking. You have Jalen Carter on the inside and pair him with Lucas Van Ness. I think that is going to be one of the most dominant defensive front duos in the league for years to come. And that Seahawks defensive front has gotten much better this offseason. So if they can add 2 more, one on the inside, one on the edge in the draft, that would be incredible. And that would be a defensive front that gives hell to every quarterback they play. And I think it'd be great. And again, I'm looking. I would not be surprised at all if they went receiver here if this was the receiving board. But to me, I just think if you have a chance at making that defensive line one of the best in football, I just can't see Pete Carroll passing up on Lucas Van Ness. 21, we have the Chargers, and there has been a lot of mocks that they are going to take a receiver at pick 21, and looking at the board, there is every receiver available to them. Quentin Johnson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. If they go receiver, I'm looking at either Quentin Johnson or Jackson Smith and Jigba for them to get someone who is fast and explosive, has run after the catch upside. But in this one, I do not have them taking receiver. Also, I have them taking Deonte Banks. I'm very high on Deonte Banks. I think he's a little underrated. They need help in the secondary badly, and it's the same thing I said when the Raiders took Christian Gonzalez. You're in a division where you're going to be going up against Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Devontae Adams, and Russell Wilson 6 times each year. You need a good secondary, and the Chargers secondary, on paper, it is very good. Last season, it was not very good. And I think you get Deonte Banks and you sit him behind J.C. Jackson for a year, and that is going to become a lethal cornerback duo. And I'm very high on that. And again, I know you might call me crazy for them passing up on some of these guys like Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnson, but to me, wide receiver is not their biggest need. I see PFF says it is, but I think you have the chance to really lock down that secondary, and that's what I'm doing. That's what my focus is. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if they went receiver, get someone who can, be a deep threat and has that incredible speed. But I just think Deonte Banks and locking down that secondary is a bigger need right now. And I picked 22. This is interesting because the Ravens, if you remember, they traded away Lamar Jackson for Anthony Richardson with the Colts. I actually, in the mock draft I did before this that I was going to do the video on, I had the Colts giving, I think their 4th, 2024 and 2025 first round picks as well. In return, they would get Lamar and the 22nd overall pick, which was interesting. I forgot to do it in the trade. I gave him, I don't even know what the trade was, I forgot. But I forgot to give the Colts the 22nd overall pick, which is fine. I think the Ravens would probably keep it anyways. It was just, kind of an experiment to have fun with it. But if the Ravens do keep the 22nd overall pick, which I imagine they will, even if they trade Lamar Jackson, I'm looking at receivers. There's any receiver on the board, and I think that is a dream scenario for the Ravens. You have Anthony Richardson now. Let's go ahead and get him a weapon. And I'm looking at Quentin Johnson or Jackson Smith-Njigba. Jackson Smith-Njigba are probably the safer option. Play slot, but you can also move him out wide. Great hands and is a great route runner. Quentin Johnson has incredible speed, amazing run after the catch ability. He's a deep threat. And it just kind of comes down to who you're looking for in a receiver. I'm going to take Quentin Johnson just because he's so explosive and he's really an alpha receiver. If Jackson Smith-Njigba is there, it's kind of a toss-up. It's just kind of more what the Ravens are looking for. And again, I think it's a dream scenario that all the receivers on the board are still available, and especially Quentin Johnson. But in this mock draft, they go Quentin Johnson, they get Anthony Richardson, a true alpha receiver to throw to. Pick 23 of the Vikings, and another receiver goes right off the board, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Again, I think it's a dream scenario if he's still on the board at 23. They need another slot receiver after they lost Adam Thielen. I like Jackson Smith-Njigba. You can kick him out wide if need be. He's elusive, great route running, great hands, and I think he's a great addition to that offense behind Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. And I'm also looking, I wouldn't be surprised if they went with someone like Bryan Bresee or Myles Murphy here for the defensive front. But when Jackson Smith-Njigba is still on the board at 23 and you desperately need a wide receiver 2 in the slot, I just don't think it's possible you can pass up on Jackson Smith-Njigba there at 23 if I'm the Vikings. Pick 24, we have the Jags, and at first I'm looking at the secondary. I don't see great value here. I like Cam Smith, but other than that, I'm not really high on the secondary value here at pick 24. Safety, Brian Branch is already off the board, so I'm looking now at interior O-line, and O'Cyrus Torrence is still on the board. I'm very high on him. I think if you pair him up at left guard with right guard Brandon Sheriff, I think that would be a very good interior O-line. The Jags need help everywhere on the O-line pretty much, and I think O'Cyrus Torrence would be great. My guard one. I think he's pretty much everyone's guard one in the class. Didn't allow a single quarterback hit or sack last year playing for Anthony Richardson. I think he's a major help, and I think he's going to help Trevor Lawrence develop into even a better quarterback than we saw last year. And again, I am looking at the secondary first if I'm the Jags, but I just don't see a lot of value there. I see O'Cyrus Torrence there. I see great value at left guard, and you pair him up with Brandon Sheriff, and that is a great interior O-line. At pick 25, we have the Giants. Now, this is an interesting one. The Giants' offense, I feel like, is getting slept on a little bit. They got Darren Waller. They got Paris Campbell. Isaiah Hodgins is really looking like kind of a star receiver that's starting to shine. Darius Slayton, who I'm not super high on, but I think he is consistent. But if I am the Giants, I'm still looking to add a true wide receiver 1 and help Daniel Jones out as much as possible. If O'Cyrus Torrence was still on the board, I'm possibly looking at him for my interior, but he's not. So I'm taking Jordan Addison. I really like Jordan Addison. To me, he's kind of like a combination of Quentin Johnson and Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's a very smooth route runner, but he can also be a very good deep threat, and he's very fast. I like him a lot, and I think you get Daniel Jones, a wide receiver 1, and I like that a lot. Pick 26, we have the Patriots. They obviously traded down with the Cowboys so they could go Bijan. Who did the Patriots trade down for? I think they traded down for Zay Flowers. I'm very high on Zay Flowers, and I'm very high on him to the Patriots. He's out of Boston College, so it makes sense. He's very fast. He's a deep ball threat. The one problem he did have, he has to his size. He's a little small, but he also had a major dropping problem. He had 9 drops last season alone at Boston College. And now, he wasn't playing with the best quarterbacks. He wasn't playing with the best offense, but still to have 9 drops in one season, that is a bit of a problem. So I'm looking at him. I'm looking at his speed. I'm looking at the deep threat possibilities, and I like him. Now, I think once you get to the NFL, you're definitely going to improve that. I think once you get with the NFL trainers and personnel, your drop problems are going to kind of go away if you can really work on that because, it is a major upgrade from Boston College. So I like Zay Flowers. I'm very high on him to the Patriots. And I think if they could trade down to the later first round and still land him would be a dream for me and the team. And I like it. 27, we have the Buffalo Bills. And I already picked it on accident, but I have them going Cam Smith. I could see them going someone like Bryan Bresee to get some help on that interior, or an edge rusher like Myles Murphy to get a partner for Von Miller. But I look at the cornerbacks. I like Emmanuel Forbes. The only thing is he's a little small and has some trouble tackling. I like Cam Smith. He's smart. He's a hard hitter. He's a powerful player, and he's a great tackler. So I like Cam Smith. I like him to the Bills at pick 27. Next, we have the Bengals, and I have them going tight end Michael Mayer. Now, if Bryan Bresee is still on the board, I would be very, very tempted to go with Bryan Bresee. They need a lot of help on that interior D-line. For this one, though, they lost Hayden Hurst. They did bring in Irv Smith, who I like. I think he's underrated. When he's healthy, he can be very good. But I still think you want to get Michael Mayer, especially at pick 28. He is such a good run blocker, but he also has great hands, and he can go up and get contested catches. Not a very big, high upside run after the catch, which I think is one thing. At LSU, Joe Burrow loved his tight ends that could run after the catch. And I'm looking, that is a problem. That is, like a small problem I see. But I think overall, Michael Mayer is still great. Still brings help to that run blocking offense. Great hands, like I said, contested catcher. And yeah, the only downside is his run after the catch ability. But I still like him. I still like him to the Bengals. I'm not really going to, look down on that too much. Bryan Bresee, like I said, I think that would be very tempting to go interior. But I think Michael Mayer there, pick 28, and what he brings to the Bengals is just too much to pass up on. At pick 29, we have the Saints. Now, a couple of different ways I could see this going. I could see them going tight end. I could see them going Luke Musgrave here. I really like Luke Musgrave. He's kind of like a Darnell Washington 2.0. But I don't think you want to spend your first rounder on him. I could see them going Michael Mayer if he's still there. He's not. He just went ahead of you. I'm looking to the defensive front, defensive line. Bryan Bresee is still there. I think it's a no-brainer. I think that defensive line is getting older, and they do need help on the interior. And Bryan Bresee, instant plug-and-play impact for the Saints. And I really like it a lot. I could see them going guard, too. Maybe Steve Avila. But I'm looking, and I'm willing to wait till the later rounds to go guard focus on that interior. I like Bryan Bresee, especially at pick 29. He has great value. Pick 30, we have the Eagles, and I like them going interior D-line here in Mozzie Smith. Now, at pick 10, we had them going Brian Branch to focus on replacing C.J. Gardner-Johnson at safety. I like Mozzie Smith. I'm very high on him. He absolutely destroyed Ohio State. That was a very rough game for me to watch. He's a beast, though. He's physical, powerful, strong defensive front player, almost like Javon Hargrave, who the Eagles lost, so I think he would be an instant, impactful replacement for Javon Hargrave. Howie Roseman loves his pass rushers, and I think Mozzie Smith is an immediate upgrade in replacing Javon Hargrave. Finally, at pick 31, we have the Chiefs. Now, it comes down to a couple positions. I think wide receiver, I see Josh Downs here, and I am very high on Josh Downs. I think he's a great slot receiver. Now, the only downside is he is really only a slot receiver. You can't really push him out wide like with Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I think if I am the Chiefs, I'm looking at Josh Downs. I'm looking at him at still there. And I think it would go between him. But I'm also looking at the edge rushers here. And I'm seeing that we lost Frank Clark in free agency. I think we need to get immediate help on that front for the defense. And I know it pains me not to take Josh Downs here, but I'm looking at the defensive front, and you need help on the edge. Myles Murphy, best edge rusher available. I'm just going to him. You need to restore and replace Frank Clark. I think Myles Murphy is the perfect pick for that, perfect guy for that. And again, like I said, I would love for them to have taken Josh Downs, but you need to get help on the edge. So Myles Murphy, pick 31 to the Chiefs. And there you guys have it. That is my mock draft 2.0. Like I said, I've done 100 mock drafts. I'm just now starting to make videos on them. I hope you guys did enjoy this one. It was a pretty crazy one, pretty interesting one. And I know it's different than some. It's probably similar to some of your guys's. Let me know what you guys think of it down below in the comments, what you guys agree with, what you guys disagree with. Some of the bigger ones, obviously Anthony Richardson to the Cardinals. In return, they traded away Lamar Jackson to the Colts for the 4th overall pick. Darnell Wright to the Bears at pick 19. They traded down. Bucks traded up for Will Levis. That was interesting. Pretty interesting mock draft. I'm going to be doing a lot more interesting ones, all of them with trades, all of them with some big, impactful trades. And yeah, I'm just going to make them interesting for you guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys did, make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below what you guys liked and didn't like about the mock draft. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been my boy, Jay Lay, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.